Baha'u'llah is the founder of the Baha'i faith, and this is what he said. Do not be content with showing friendship in words alone. Let your heart burn with loving kindness for all who may cross your path. Be generous in prosperity and thankful in adversity. Be worthy of the trust of thy neighbor and look upon him with a bright and friendly face. And anyone who reads my books knows that I use a lot of quotes from Baha'u'llah. I love him. And so he is spread all over my books. And his son, Abdul Baha, was his successor, and he is our next master. He said, where there is love, nothing is too much trouble, and there is always time. Love the creatures for the sake of God and not for themselves. And Abdul Baha, in later years, you'll see there's two pics of him. And he said, the divine manifestations of God had a universal and all-inclusive conception. They endeavored for the sake of everyone's life and engaged in the service of universal education. The area of their aims was not limited, nay, rather it was wide and all-inclusive. And again, about the same subject, he said, the divine religions were founded for the purpose of unifying humanity and establishing universal peace. Any movement which brings about peace and agreement in human society is truly a divine movement. Any reform which causes people to come together under the shelter of the same tabernacle is surely animated by heavenly motives. You know, the Baha'i faith came into being with that purpose to bring together the line of succession of prophecy and the prophets and revelation and religion from all time until present day. So Bahi Khanum is the daughter of Baha'u'llah. And she said, from this hallowed and snow-white spot, this blessed heavenly garden, wherefrom the fragrance of God is diffused to all regions, I hail you with salutations most tender, most wondrous, and most glorious, and impart to you the most joyful tiding. This tiding serves as the sweet-smelling savor of his remit to them that long to behold his face. It represents the highest aspiration of his steadfast leaves. It is the animating impulse for the happiness of the world. It is the source of ineffable gladness of Baha, a remedy to the afflicted and a refreshing drought for the thirsty. By the righteousness of God, O beloved friend, through this glad tiding, the ailing are cured and every moldering bone is quickened. This most joyful tiding is the news of the good health and well-being of the blessed, the exalted, the holy person of Abdul Baha, him whom God hath purposed. May the life of all created things be offered up. And this is another from Abdul Baha later in life. He says, the troubles of this world pass, and what we have left is what we have made of our souls. Shoghi Effendi, the guardian, he became the guardian. He is the grandson of Baha'u'llah, the son of Abdul Baha. He said, let there be no mistake. The principle of the oneness of mankind, the pivot round which all the teachings of Baha'u'llah revolve, is no mere outburst of ignorant emotionalism or an expression of vague and pious hope. Its appeal is not to be merely identified with a reawakening of the spirit of brotherhood and goodwill among men. Nor does it aim solely at the fostering of harmonious cooperation among individual peoples and nations. Its implications are deeper, its claims greater than any which the prophets of old were allowed to advance. Its message is applicable not only to the individual, but concerns itself primarily with the nature of those essential relationships that must bind all the states and nations as members of one human family. It does not constitute merely the enunciation of an ideal, but stands inseparably associated with an institution adequate to embody its truth, demonstrate its validity, and perpetuate its influence. It implies an organic change in the structure of present-day society, a change such as the world has not yet experienced. It represents the consummation of human evolution, an evolution that has had its earliest beginnings in the birth of family life, its subsequent development in the achievement of tribal solidarity, leading in turn to the constitution of the city-state, and expanding later into the institution of independent and sovereign nations. One thing to keep in mind was Baha'u'llah was this great mystic. That's one of the reasons I love his writings. But his son and his grandson were much more the people who were bringing together the work for the Baha'i faith. And so finally, at the feet of the masters and concluding the near-death and out-of-body experiences, the auspicious births and deaths of the prophets, saints, mystics, and sages in world religions, we have Tahiri Khadiji Begum, a Baha'i martyr. She was the wife of the Bab. These are the words of the Bab regarding her, because we have no words from her that are extant. And he says, "O well-beloved, value highly the grace of the great remembrance, for it cometh from God the loved one. Thou shalt not be a woman like other women. If thou obeys God in the cause of truth, the greatest truth, know thou the great bounty conferred upon thee by the Ancient of Days, and take pride in being the consort of the well-beloved, who is loved by God. The greatest sufficient unto thee is this glory which cometh unto thee from God, the all-wise, the all-praised. Be patient in all that God hath ordained concerning the Bab and his family. Verily thy son is with Fatimah, Muhammad's daughter, in the sanctified paradise." All of these, of course, the Baha'i faith being a descendant of Islam.